Kick it.
Oh, yeah. Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores.
Yes.
Brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1291, April 19th, 2024. I told you there was a string of records on this day. Here's the third day in a row for 1985. It was 87 degrees on this day in 1985, 19 degrees on this day in 1928. Any day now, it will be 87 degrees around this neck of the woods, and you might want to have that swimming hole or lakefront beach free of weeds and algae so the kids can start the swimming season. Get a hold of Aquaside. They've been helping people maintain Great Lake shores for more than 60 years with a complete line of lake and pond control products that take care of everything from weeds to algae. The products are easy to use. They work quickly. They're made right here in White Bear Lake. They're registered with the EPA and DNR. Call Aquaside. Tell them what you think your problem is. They'll help you. They'll get you squared away. Call Aquaside at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquaside.com. Aquaside brings you the Ice Outs, a very popular day around mid-April. We get very popular Ice Out days. Minnetonka went out on this day in 1916, 1937, 1947, 1970, 1980, 1982, 1993, and 2001. White Bear Lake went out on this day in 1937, 1980, 1982, 1993, all similar to Minnetonka, and 2001 as the ice left Minnetonka also. Thank you.
Hail the Flashlight King.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your Flashlight King, Fireworks Commissioner, and the Keeper of Common Sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
We're joined by Becka Thompson, who until recently was a math teacher at South High. She's also a member of the Minneapolis Park Board. Hello, Becka.
Well, hello. How are you?
I'm good. I read that you were fired from your position at South High because you're attempting to point out what you've called a cancerous rot in the system. And I have
a lot of jazzed people up.
Have you come to this conclusion recently, or has this been building?
It's been building, and how should I say this? It's something that I've observed, and it's not unique. I could be wrong. I don't think it's unique to MPS.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is in a lot of school situations. And what I mean by that is it's just there's something internal that whereby it contradicts the very thing that education is supposed to be about, which is critical thinking, voicing and respecting each other and different opinions. And it reaches critical mass. And to me, what I explicitly saw and really took issue with is that we took this kind of groupthink ideology to such an extreme point that we were allowing children to assault each other in various ways and not really doing anything about it. And just saying, I mean, me specifically, I was just like, hey, how are we not even writing our incident reports? I mean, it was that basic.
What do you think would be the administrative rationale for allowing such a thing as a fight or an assault? Why would that not have action taken?
I think based on feedback that I got, and I say feedback kind of in gentle quotes because it wasn't exactly like, hey, can I offer you some feedback? It was more like really people who were angry and or retaliatory things that were said and done to me. It seems like people's greatest problem was that they didn't want the school to, quote, have a bad rap, whatever that means. And to me, then you're a person saying that is judging the violence, which I get. I should unpack that phrase. I'm sorry, I'm giving teacher speak, but this is how teachers speak. That I would argue as educators, we're supposed to see violence sometimes as kids as a cry for help, right? And so in my way, I was like, I'm not trying to say we need to pragmatically punish kids. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that by addressing these things, writing them down, getting them, gives us abilities to address them, right? And to have points of data. And I think this is a problematic in a lot of schools that are facing hard challenges. In the wake of many events in the last several years, they just want to act like nothing to see here, right? And I find that to be putting teachers into a hard place, but mostly it puts children at risk. Walk me
after
a while.
Walk me through the specific incident as it relates to your dismissal.
Well, there was no reason given for my dismissal except for, quote, unprofessional communication, that's a kind of a catch-all. I mean, maybe me talking to you now is considered unprofessional communication, maybe, I don't have a Twitter account, but, I know a lot of teachers who do, and they tweet some really insane stuff, and yet that they still work there, right? So what is it you're critiquing, right? And so if that's your rationale, the only thing I can think is that my communication surrounding, I wouldn't stop, I guess you could say. I would go through proper channels. I would try to alert the people I was supposed to. I did all my online training, and then when that was met with deaf ears, I started writing letters. And because I'm a park board member, I would CC the school board because they're my colleagues.
Were you seeing fights in school?
Yes.
Did you see an assault on a teacher?
I did. I will. That's kind of what started it all, because that was the very first week of class.
Were you assaulted?
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
No. But I will tell you, as someone who's worked in schools for a long time, I don't intercede, and that's an awful thing to say, but it's true, because in a horrible way, legally, it's better. I'm just saying, like, I'll use me personally, but any teacher, legally, it's better to let kids whack on each other than intercede, because you could get sued. I was at a school, not South. Okay, I want to be clear. There was a different school where there was a fight, and a teacher tried to intercede, and not only got knocked around, but then became part of a lawsuit.
That's dreadful.
That it's insane. So when I actually, again, different school, went through, there was a training that wasn't mandatory, but it was part of teacher training, and it was highly encouraged that you learned how to do holds on students and learn how to break up fights. And I was at that particular school, I was encouraged to learn this because I was, I'm pretty physically fit. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing this, because I don't even want to have the training, because then it'll be some sort of implicit obligation. And so have I ever, no, I honestly stay out of it and try my best. I mean, I was now that I'm talking about it, there was a fight a couple of days after the initial fight where kids were trying to spark something to end up on TikTok.
Oh, God.
And there was a friend of mine who's a staffer. I mean, I really like this particular staffer, an incredible human being, was alone breaking it up, this dean. And I did step in on that. And I don't want to sound cold. Like, if people are probably listening to this, like, my gosh, what a horrible person. But you need to understand, like, the legal ramifications. So in that one, I didn't step in and necessarily break up the fight, but I stepped in so that he could break it up and no more students would join the melee, because I was also first to that moment.
How long have you been a teacher? How long have you been a teacher?
A teacher?
Yes.
Like 23 years.
Have you seen changes in those 23 years in the environment in the school?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
what changes are they, and what happened? What changes are they, and what has brought them about?
There are a ton of changes that are just, I think people focus on demographic changes, but that to me isn't what the change is that is challenging. Because I've been in all sorts of types of schools just as an educator. This has nothing to do with MPS specifically, but as an educator, I have seen changes. And it's cyclical. It's probably when I was a kid, these were people tried to have it not be present, and then it's back again. And that is that there's a lack of I'll just use the word, gosh, it's like nobody wants to hear it. There's a lack of discipline, and it stems everywhere.
No,
right?
I want to hear it. I want to hear it, and I don't hear it. You're corroborating what I believe, but we've had no means to corroborate it without talking to people like you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's sad because, I started with my own son in MPS, and I volunteered a lot, and he got beat up as a kindergartner for defending a girl on the playground. And I went in, and the principal wouldn't do anything. She gave me a lot of lip service, and then it happened again the next week. And I went and talked to the mom of the girl who'd gotten beat up. We're actually still friends, and our kids are teenagers now. And I was just like, I got to tell you, I'm pulling my son out of next week. And she said, so am I. Mm. And it was just at the time. And that was when I was like, how is this starting in kindergarten? Like, it was insane to me. And so I guess it's just people there. This is going to get me a lot of the pitchforks will come for me after I say this, but I feel compelled to say it.
The people you probably hang around with don't listen to this show.
Okay, perfect. Nobody wants to help guide parents into how best to be a parent like, nobody wants to be the one to tell their parent, like, hey, this needs to be a certain way, or your child's behavior is unacceptable. Because the reality is, this is the way I see it. If a kid shows up in kindergarten, first grade, already with massive trauma responses, as a school, as a teacher, my impulse is to be like, I'm calling CPS. And I know that makes me seem horrible to certain people, right? Mm-hmm. But that's my impulse, to protect the child, mm-hmm. right? And then how long does this go on, right? And then by the time these young kids get to be in high school, then everyone just shrugs and was like, well, this is just the way that it is. So many years ago, I have also taught in private schools. Many years ago, I was a finalist for a job at Blake. I didn't end up getting, but I was candid with them, because, they always ask, well, do you have any questions for us? And I talked about, that was the beginning. This is like 10 years ago now. This is the beginning of trends I was seeing of blaming teachers for issues that are kind of out of their control. Mm-hmm. So I just asked the administrator there about kind of that concern, and I didn't want to be put in a position. I said I was very sensitive to that, because I'm a good educator, and I know that education, and especially classroom management, you have to, have support from your admin if you need to. Again, discipline is that's such a charged word in our society right now, but it's absent. It's absent. It's absent because of what we talk about on this show. We call it a decline of moral and ethical integrity. I also refer to education, most principally at the university level, but also high schools, as the failed academy. There are too many problems stemming from the education system, and without question. Well, that administrator at Blake said to me point blank. She said, "Oh no, we don't allow that. We we make efforts to educate the parents of what is required to create excellence for their children. And I thought, oh, thank God, right? But that is what makes Blake. Sorry, Blake is one of the best schools in the entire state, if not the region, if not the country, right?
Right, I'm very familiar with it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they flat out say, we come alongside parents and say, hey, you know what? You're entrusting us with our excellence, with our expertise, right? And if you're going to do that and pay big money, by the way, we all know, right? Then I'm going to tell you this is what is required to create excellence. And I don't think I believe in public education ardently. I don't know why we don't say that same thing. To me, that is the greatest equity. I have been in private and public schools and charter and inner city and suburban and all of them. The greatest equity metric is saying, hey, you know what? This is what they're doing at Blake. And that costs you $30,000 a year. And guess what? We're going to do it right here in my classroom too, because I can help you get to be whatever it is that you're encouraged and dreamed to be.
Do you get respect from your students? Do you get respect from your...
Oh, my students texted me right away when I lost my job. Ms. Thompson, where are you? The classroom is total chaos. That's what I got a text within 24 hours of what's going on. Where are you? And it's because they'd gotten my number from different things through coaching, and I'd helped out parents. Just because a lot of my students were immigrants, I was helping a family with their rent and some other things. So they had my contact info. But it was just incredible to me. Yeah. Oh yeah. Always. I ran into a student over the weekend, a former student who's now graduated, at an event that it was at the Minneapolis St. Paul International Film Festival. I didn't expect to see him there. And he was just like, oh my gosh, Ms. Thompson. And it was just, he's like, you are still the best teacher I've ever had. You getting to chat with you all those days at lunch, changed my life. The nicest responses. And I don't say that to fluff myself up. I say it because kids buy in. They want to hear that.
Well, what were you doing different? What were you doing? Did you demand respect? Did you expect it, and therefore you got it? Yes.
Yep. Actually, I'm going to be blunt. I had a student who the first week of school, I adore this kid. I want to be abundantly clear, and I don't think I'm breaking privacy rules. They came into my classroom the first week, senior in high school, think they're going to play cool in the gang, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tardy, skipping class, tardy again, coming in loud, kind of acting a fool, as the kids say on the north side. And first week of school, I pulled them in. I can't remember if it was the Friday of the first week or the Monday of the next week. And I was like, hey, I want to just talk to you for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm laughing because this is how I am. I said, okay, so I can see the pattern. I get it, you're a senior. So you have three options. You can drop my class right now. No harm, no foul. I'm not going to be offended. Number two, you can just take the F now and keep skipping class and keep coming in late and keep having this behavior. But it would just do me a lot of good to not feel the need to have to grade your test
mm-hmm.
or even pretend that you're going to do homework. So I'll just give you the F and it'll save us both time.
Right.
And their eyes got really big. And I said, or you can realize you have a huge opportunity here, and I am going to make sure that you learn. And I don't care where you land in math. I will make sure that you learn if you work together. All I'm asking of you is to try. And they were kind of like,
and you're the one fired.
Trying to play cool in that moment with me.
Yeah.
The next day, I kid you not, that young person was never late again. They never pulled out their phone, which I got to tell you was a huge problem in schools.
Yeah.
They never pulled out their phone. They were attentive and took notes every day. And I'm getting chills now because I miss this kid. And and I'm so proud of them. And if they happen to, in some weird alternate universe, hear this, I hope they know who they are, and I hope they know how proud I am of them, because they knew they were acting out. They were testing me. They were testing the whole scenario. And so then I just made it plain, and they chose door number 3, and they learned, and I'm really proud of them. But that's the kind of stuff that I feel like I get in trouble for. Obviously, I'm not working there anymore. And yet it's just nonsense.
Well, it's inconceivable that you would get in trouble for that. That's inconceivable.
Well, this is the world that we live in 2024 at present. And I'm a firm, like I said, I think the biggest equity metric is, and I have this because I grew up in them and I taught in them, is to know what private schools do, which I do. Sidebar, I used to teach, I started my teaching career in Los Angeles. I was a professional actress. I went to Juilliard.
I can't tell. In fact, you speak so slowly that I would think you're so shy. And
yeah, you're not shy at all.
I know. It's a double-edged sword, right? Isn't that what they say? The tongue is a double-edged sword.
Right.
Yes.
I started teaching in Los Angeles, and I sometimes, and I don't say this to be like a punk, but I sometimes would say this to students. I'm like, if Steven Spielberg entrusted me to teach his child, I don't know why I'm not able to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
And their eyes get big, but that's the truth. And I would sometimes say this, and I only say it to be like, I'm here because I'm here working in public school with marginalized kids who don't have opportunities, precisely because if I don't take my opportunities and my background and my privilege and my expertise and give it back to them, then what am I doing? That's how I embody the spirit of equity. And yet because I don't choose to use the proper words, sometimes, although I try really hard, or I don't know. I sometimes I say, because, I'm an elected official, I'm a little bit in the political arena. People are sometimes like, they just want you to kiss the ring. And I'm like, yeah, I'll never do it.
Do you want your job back? Not in those circumstances. No, I mean, I have a lot of colleagues I miss who are incredible people. And even as you say that, I know there are people in the building now that every passing minute are probably more and more enraged with me. I was facing very toxic conditions that you can only know when you're living it. Just little things like I'd walk down the hallway and it's just me and one other adult. And I'll say like, hey, how's it going? Simple pleasantries as you're like going to the copy machine. And literally they would look me in the eye and then intentionally swing their head the opposite direction to make it abundantly clear they weren't going to look at me or talk to me. Students or teachers?
And these are people these are actually people I've never actually met. It's because the gossip surrounding me became so bad that then I didn't know. And then when that happens and you have other people like slamming your doors for no apparent reason, it might be coincidence, but it feels targeted. You know what I mean? And then when my car was vandalized, it could have been a random person wandering down Lake Street who tried to break into my car. That's all true. But it felt, the timing just is like, you're like, man, it just felt moment after moment. So in that regard, absolutely not. But like, I miss my students. They're good kids. And the fact that the fact that the school, the administrator and HR would be okay with my Latin American immigrant students who don't speak English, not learning at all, versus just dealing with me until the school year ended. That is the cancerous rot.
Becca, did you find any support from fellow teachers and faculty members, or was it 100% groupthink?
No, tons. But it's like really hushed. I asked some people who were my friends, I'm like, would you ever be willing to go on the record with what you've experienced? I'm pretty new here. And I said to someone yesterday, I said, that's precisely why I was able to just really feel how just oppressive it was, because I wasn't used to it every day. It wasn't a slow burn. And they were like, well, no one will speak out. And I started to ask, like, why? And it just eyes got big of like, you have no idea what you're asking. You know what I mean? I guess in that regard,
I learned a term for that phenomena recently. It's called the Abilene paradox. a group dynamic where the collective agrees on a path of action that none of the individual members want to do. I think that's what you experienced.
It might be, because I got to tell you, there are so many teachers, and they all talk to me, and they vent behind closed doors, and they're frustrated here, and they, and their pension is tied up in this, and they have 7 more years, or I'm trapped, or good luck to you, Thompson. I got to keep my head low, like we appreciate what you're doing, but just don't watch out. I mean, I can't tell you how many people told me to watch my back the more I started speaking out.
How long have you been at South?
Just 2 years.
Where are you from?
Originally?
Yeah.
Born and raised in Minneapolis.
Oh, really? Where'd you go to high school?
Oh, yeah. Minnehaha Academy.
Oh, you and my dad.
Huh?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. But that was back in the day. I also got beat up in MPS. And I also had parents who were like, not on my watch, not my kid.
Yeah.
And they pulled us out.
Yeah. Well, there was a day in this country when a child would have been far more fearful of his parents than they are today.
Well, yeah, and that is that. I got to tell you, as a teacher, as a mother, as someone who's been working with kids forever, everybody wants boundaries. Why do you think we as a collective, right, wake up around the same time, go to bed around the same time, we sit in the same routine? Because there's security in routine. There is security in routine. We feel comfortable in routine. Almost all humanity does, right?
Yes.
It's just true. And when children are not given routine, are told to figure it out when you're like 8, right? That is completely overwhelming and really emotionally traumatizing. So what we're seeing when we see children act out, it's like that student of mine that I flat out said, these are your options, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is like they are just desperate for someone to say, here's the path. I'll just anecdotally, I remember when I finished grad school, I was 25 years old, sitting in an apartment in Los Angeles, and I had never not been in school, right?
Right.
And that I could remember. And now this is the moment, right, that you're waiting for. Your whole life is to be free to do whatever you want. And I remember sitting there like, but what is this? What do I guess I need a job. I guess, it's bewildering because you're just suddenly, freedom is in a way terrifying, because now, do I make the right choice? Do I make the wrong choice? Who's going to judge me for this? When you present that to a child, they're gonna literally scream and holler and start hitting things, because that is our basic. And now we're judging the child for doing that when really it is our lack of using what we know for them. It's completely antithetical to education, and that is why I have a problem with it.
Can you stay with us through a break?
Sure, why not?
Thank you very much. We're talking with.
I lost my job, so I kind of have.
Yeah, you got nothing to do. We're talking with Becka Thompson, until recently a math teacher at South High School, Minneapolis. We'll be back in a moment.